Hello there. In this video, we're going to talk about images. So for the accessibility purposes, there can be three types of images. First is informative images, second, decorative images, and third, functional images. So let's talk about these in detail. First is informative images. So what are informative images? If you see this example on the right, there is an image and there's some text for this image, which is kind of basically adding more value to the content. So images such as charts, photos, product reviews, that basically describe the content or purpose of that particular element. Those images are informative images. And the alt attribute basically helps the screen readers describe that image for the people who are not able to see that image. So second is the decorative image. So if an image is purely for a layout or visual enhancement, let's say there's a background image, it must be hidden from the assistive technology. And these images are decorative images, and it must be hidden by using either an empty value for an alt attribute or an attribute called role equals presentation. So you can use either of this. So let me give you an example of a decorative image. Let's say there are icons, right? Icons are basically decorative. It's not doing anything. So those needs to have either alt equals empty or role equals presentation, or for example, SVGs, right? Those are the examples. So this keeps the screen readers from announcing irrelevant content. And let's take a look at this example. Now, how do you know which image is a decorative image? Well, in that case, just ask yourself this question. Does the image add any narrative to the existing content of the page? If it does, then it's not a decorative image. It's a descriptive image. However, if it does not, then it is decorative. So this image, as you can see, just an eye candy to make the page look better, because the content that you're seeing is like explore degrees, recursive information, tuition, and cost, college and schools. So if you see, it's not really, kind of adding any narrative to the content that already exists on this page. It's just purely for decorative purposes, right? Just an eye candy to make it look better. So in that case, if it's a decorative image, you'll just use, as I said, alt equals empty, string, or role equals presentation. Okay. Lastly, there are functional images that basically do something, right? Like linked images, where you have an anchor tag and then the image is inside of it. So it triggers an action for the users, like it has a function to perform, right? If you, like example in this way, in this particular image, this is about Lisa Lewis, and if you click on that, it takes you probably to the users page, to the Lisa's page, where there's more information about this particular, let's say, author or this particular person for that website. So these images need alternative text, alt text, and it should be placed either nearby the image in form of some kind of text, or inside the alt attribute of the image tag. I'll give you some examples in a moment for that. So the alt text must describe an image and explain where the link goes. Now the second part is very important. Where is it actually going, right? So let's take an example. Functional image can have an empty alt attribute only when an image text are wrapped in the same HTML link or a href attribute. So let's take a look here. So here, as you can see, we have an empty alt attribute. Now, why is that? The reason for that is because the image and the text is wrapped inside of the anchor tag. Ignore, I think there's a missing closing anchor tag there. So just imagine the closing anchor tag exists right after the paragraph tag. So the image and the text is wrapped inside of the anchor tag. So in this case, you can have an empty alt attribute. because you already have a text that describes the image, right? So now let's take a look at the second example here. Because the text is outside the anchor tag, as you can see here, you have the paragraph inside another anchor tag, and this is inside, this image is inside another anchor tag. So there is no description about this one, right? So this is why you need to have an alt attribute in this situation, because the text is outside of the first anchor tag. Okay. So that's basically are the functional images. Okay, now another thing that you should consider is avoid using images of text unless absolutely necessary. And the reason for that is because the screen readers can't really read the text that's written on the image itself, like which is embedded inside of it. So unless absolutely necessary, do not use it. One of the examples I can think of where the text might be there is when there are images of a map, and in which case, you may want to describe, let's say in that map you have 3 to 4 countries listed. So you can set an alt text saying that, country of, let's say, map of Netherlands and Belgium and Luxembourg, right? So you can be a bit more descriptive about that, where you have absolutely necessary, you must use the embedded text inside of the image. But otherwise, just avoid that. So what you should do is, when you need text for the image, place the text on top of the image, like with a position absolute or something, or below the image, so that the screen reader can announce that information. And also because the text inside the image isn't scalable, localizable, or screen reader friendly. So, you can't even translate that text that's embedded inside of the image. So instead, use real text styled with CSS to ensure accessibility and responsiveness. All right, and now in the next video, we're going to see how to test our images to make sure it's compliant with all the EAA guidelines. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.